Welcome to Force Pro Sports Laserforce podcast with your host, Mr. Mischief.
Laserforce players, welcome to Force Pro Sports. Laser tag is the greatest sport of our modern era. Our dream is to see a Laserforce tournament with players paid professionally, teams sponsored, and lives transformed through our incredible supportive community. My codename is Mr. Mischief. I'm a laser tag sports analyst who aims to make laser tag presentable and exciting for all. And today I am joined by Glaedr from Brisbane, Australia, playing for Brisboom in this year's Laserforce Internationals, and Kodama from Chula Vista, California, world champion of 2 years ago and one of the greats. Welcome on, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Are you there? I can't see you. I can't. Oh, okay. Now I can see you. Now I can see you.
Go.
Today we're doing the power rankings show. And guys, I'm so excited for this. Part of how I'm coping with not being at NATS this year is by interviewing a player from every team and being super nosy and becoming basically the sports center, or trying to be the sports center of the scene. And not professionally by any means, but I'm so excited to talk about this and get your guys' perspective on everything. There's so many opinions. That's the fun of all this. So thanks for coming on.
Happy to be here.
Yep.
As opposed to Glaedr. Are you sad to be here, Glaedr?
No. Happy. I'm happy. I'm excited. So,
Glaedr, how are you doing with NATS coming up? How are you feeling about it?
I'm pretty confident. I'm definitely excited. I don't think my co-workers are, but oh well, that's their problem, not mine.
Right, you're taking the week off, I presume?
I'm taking 2 weeks off, actually.
Excellent. Yeah. Suck it, Glaedr's co-workers. And Cayman, how are you feeling being a spectator this year?
I'm good. I'm going to have a little bit of FOMO and I'm going to miss seeing everybody, but it'll be good to get to cheer everybody on from the sidelines rather than from the other side of the arena.
It's a little different, but I'm trying to frame it positively like that too. Excited for everyone attending this year. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. We're going to just get right into the good stuff. So, share your screen. The thing. Boom. Okay. Everyone can see that. Cool. I presume.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, we begin every show with a quick question. This year, or with the power rankings from last year, we're doing the same thing. Question is, what is one player you're excited to see play in NATS this year? So that's the question I just asked. And Glaedr, why don't you... oh, wait. Sorry, Glaedr. You didn't get to have this player. Kodama beat you to it. Cayman, why don't you start with your player?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that Morange is definitely a well-respected player. He's been in the scene for a while, but I don't think that we've really gotten to see just how much of a punch he can pack. He had an excellent showing, obviously, in 2023 in Auckland, and he has had a couple of other away tournaments that he's gotten to participate in, but we haven't really gotten to see him in full force and really shine as a player, which is surprising considering how much of a staple he is now in the New Zealand scene. And so I'm very excited to see him play in an away tournament with a really strong set of other teams to play against. He's got a great team backing him. And then I think that he's going to show us way more than we thought that he was capable of, even though we already think so highly of him.
Glaedr, you submitted your answer to this question as Morange as well, and I told you that Cayman beat you to it. What were your thoughts on that?
They're essentially almost the same thoughts as the player I did land on. So I don't want to spoil it before you get to the next one.
No worries. I agree with you, Cayman. I especially last tournament in 23 New Zealand, Morange took a huge leap from the tournament I saw him in before that, which was really only duos a few months ahead of that time. He's definitely, when you think of Auckland, you think of Morange as one of the featured players. So I agree with this. I'm very interested in seeing how he does. All right. I'm going to keep going. When there's silence, I'm going to keep rolling. So if you guys have things you want to say, just jump on in. Don't be
You
shy.
got it.
Glaedr, tell us about your pick, Screever, playing for BDRL.
Yes. So, Scriba, he's only played the one tournament back in 2018, and he between the start and the end of the tournament had such a massive increase in skill and ability that has only grown more since 2018 to the point where he was even considered to be on our team. But as is the way of things, free will and all, he actually wanted to play on the BDRL. So I'm excited to see how you'll go with the team because they're actually a team of decent players as well. So I'm excited definitely to see how he performs in this one.
That's interesting. Did you say you offered him a spot on your team first?
Yes. Well, maybe not first, but we definitely asked.
Interesting. Kodama, what do you think?
I think this is an excellent choice. This probably would have been high on my list if I had to make like a top 5 players who I'm excited to watch play. Definitely, he was one of the redeeming qualities of the team he was on in 2018. I had the pleasure of subbing on that team for them in the one game that they took off of the first place team that tournament. Yeah, it was excellent. And he's got an excellent mentality towards the game. It's really hard to ever root against him in any regard because he's just so fun to be around. And like Glaedr was saying, he just showed so much improvement given the opportunity to play against a bunch of different styles of player, a new roster of teams, and a new level of the game. And so I'm definitely also excited to see how he performs on this team and how the team performs as a whole.
I've never met the guy in person, and I probably never will, unfortunately. I might not ever. But I know him from, yes, that game, the famous Golden Oldies defeat. Good job for you and for Screever. And I recognize his name from that team, and I'm coming in. Also, in my interview with Prawn Boy, which hasn't aired yet, I recorded that before. It's going to come out next week. He had so many wonderful things to say about Screever as a person as well as a player. I'm expecting him to be one of the most. I'm gonna call him one of the most important players on that team. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I mean, look at that face. How could you say no to that face?
Oh my gosh, just the best. I love it and I hate it at the same time. I love it and I hate it.
He definitely has elevated that team to a higher level than they would have had without him.
And actually, on that note, I remember looking at the distribution of players on all of the Brisbane teams and thinking, I wonder why Screever isn't on the A team. But now it makes sense.
What A team?
On the on the Brisboom team.
Yeah.
Brisbane go boom.
There is no A team in Bossing say. All right, I'm going to go on to my pick for a player I'm excited to watch. I considered a bunch of players that weren't from Loveland. I get it, doing the homer pick is a little chalk. But if I'm going with my heart, the player I'm most excited for is really all 5 players going out for the Loveland Curveballs. And the one I'm most excited about would be Azra. This would be her... I bet most people would look at Azra and think, there's a new player. She's new to the scene, not very experienced. This is actually her 5th Laserforce event and her 5th away site that she's playing at. Playing on this team, she is bringing the most experience and the most leadership to the team. Something I've been promoting in the last couple years, just talks I've had with people. If you want to be a top tier SM5 team in the modern era, you need to have good resupplies. And not to give away things, but most people know Azra is a resupply main. And she elevates this team to another level. I've grown a lot of respect for her for one, she has a lot of on the field shot calling. Um, her players really respect her. She's a great personality fit on the team. And she's gotten to a point where her mechanical skills are becoming really impressive. I legitimately cannot run in and bully her around anymore. She will reset off of her team, call me out, make the right backtracks, make the right moves. Whereas she is a defensive force on the team that's going to enable the rest of her players to play above their skill level. And I think that's the kind of player you need if you want to, as a whole team, elevate everybody to punch up, let's say. So I'm excited to see Azra play this year. What about your thoughts?
Well, this was actually the other player who I was going back and forth with when I was thinking about who my player to watch is. So there was definitely a good hour or so when I was jotting down all my notes where I was like, okay, Azra is going to be my player to watch because I love watching Azra play. I was on Azra's team the first time they showed up at a tournament, and it was just like I remember looking at the way that they play and thinking there's so much raw talent hiding somewhere inside, and I just need to figure out where it is so that I can bring it out. And over the course of the last, I think that was almost 4 years ago, something like that. Over the course of the years since then, I just every time I see Azra at a tournament, it's a new piece that's chipped away, and we're getting to finally get that final sculpture of what an excellent player Azra has potential to be. And so I think that definitely with the not necessarily the stakes being higher, but the dedication being higher because of flying all the way across the world to play in this tournament and this whole new set of faces to compete against, and it being a member of leadership on a team is way different when you're not at home. It's pretty simple to be a leader for a bunch of players that are playing in their environment, but as soon as you have to lead the charge into uncharted territory, that's when you really show your potential as a leader. And so I'm very excited to see how all of that works out.
So I definitely agree, especially in the Brisbane arena. Every player is important, but having a good resupply at the back end makes a night and day difference in your game. So would be definitely exciting to see how they perform as resupply, especially with the open area that is the upstairs in Brisbane. Yeah.
Waiter, were you able to catch any of the Five Nights at Loveland games when you were? I presume you watched a little bit of Nats last year.
I actually watched quite a lot of Nats.
Quite a lot of it. What did you think of that team?
I think they played fairly well, considering they were all I think fairly new at the time. So between now and then, I hope that they have had plenty of time to practice, especially as a team. And I can see her hopefully bringing some experience from your arena, the Loveland arena, to hopefully might match up with some areas of the Brisbane field as well.
Yeah, I very much hope so, and I think it will. I was just curious because she was the captain and basically the former of that team. So we'll talk about their whole team later, but yeah, it's exciting. All right, let's continue on. So if that quick question, by the way, sponsored by Relics merch. If you want to get some cool Laserforce swag, check out Relics merch. That was our quick question of the day. And if you want to submit a question for one of our guests, leave a comment below. Also, shout out to our community of Laserforce players joining the fight against bullying. If we submitted our first donation today to them, and it was titled "On behalf of the competitive Laserforce community." So this is a way that this show and our community hope we can all feel like we're making a bit difference for something bigger than ourselves. in addition to just being nerds, playing laser tag, having a great time. Like, we can make a difference in this world. So, if you give me money, you'll make a difference. Give at patreon.com/Mr. Mischief. All right. So I wanted to just go over a couple quick things before we get into the rankings. The boring disclaimers, right? So yes. And look, I'm giving this feedback to someone who is just like me on the other side of the camera, because it's very hard for me to hear another person say things about me that aren't good, even if they're true. So I want to just let you know, if you are going to NATS this year, be prepared. Like, we're here to tell the truth, give our honest opinions, and have some friendly debate over who's going to rank where. And that means that people are going to be saying negative things potentially about you, the way you play the game. We're trying to keep it to game-related criticisms only. And remember, at the end of the day, these are just our personal opinions. We don't know what's going to happen. Surprises happen all the time. That's why we watch. But I want to give just a couple little points of encouragement for you, and then ask my guests if they have anything else they want to add. So when we do this show, we're going to have, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to have the top ranked players up at the top, and the bottom ranked players are going to appear really, they're going to look like they're in a really poor light by the end of this show. But I want to remind you all that if you're coming to NATS, this is what is happening. This is the best of the best, and I have far more respect for you attending than any of us in the commentary booth or posting on YouTube. The Glaedr has the most honor among all three of us, for sure. He's actually going into the arena. But for me and Kodama, just giving our opinions, all of you have more honor than us, right? Yep, I'd agree. Because it's my opinion. Why wouldn't I agree? And then finally, just if you are entering this, I encourage you to have a growth mindset. This episode's sponsored by Growth Mindset. Learn from your mistakes. Learning from when people say something negative about you, you can disagree, but maybe take it as a sign, like maybe there's something for you to work on. Just know it has nothing to do with you as a person. Thinking that you know everything is a great way to stop your growth mentality. Do you two have any comments on all that I just said?
Everyone sucks at laser tag. It's just the people who suck a little bit less than everybody else that end up making it to the top. So if you feel like you aren't very good, or you have some personal like self-esteem problems around your play, just remember that everybody is dealing with that, because we all suck.
There's definitely more respect for the traveling players, I would say. It's a lot harder to fly halfway across the world than it is to just drive 30 minutes.
Well said, you guys. Thank you for those words. All right, let's give the people what they want. Ready? We're going to go from we took all the teams, all our rankings, and we also took a poll. 27 people responded with their opinion, so they get their own section. And out of our consensus, out of the 4 rankings, we have our consensus rankings. We're going to go from 8th to 1st in consensus. So, team number 1. In 8th place, we have Australia Olympus. Kodama, myself, and the community voted that they would likely place in 8th. Later, you have placed them in 6th place. So I'd like to have the people who place the lowest go first with each of these, and then the person who plays higher go last. And I'd like to have everyone have a chance to talk for all the team. Okay? So, Kodama, why do you hate Australia Olympus?
Why do I hate all these people who I've never met before?
What's your problem?
My problem. It's not so much a problem as it is just kind of a byproduct of the situation that this team is in. I remember talking to some of the Armageddon players, and it seems like the consensus is that trying to make the adjustment across a system is difficult, but the greatest adjustment that you see in the Armageddon tournaments, or the most difficult adjustment, I should say, is the jump from any system into Space Marines 5. It's the largest noticeable skill discrepancy between home players and non-home players system-wise. And so I think that while I'm sure that this is a team of very talented athletic players who probably have good generalized laser tag game sense and comfortability in this competitive medium. It's just there's so many different new things to take into account. You have to learn the unique showing the shoulder rule and all of the other interesting like gameplay enhancing rules that we've developed to make it more fun and fair that aren't as present in other systems. And then on top of that, you also have to learn all of the different weird statistics that go with having to play a game that has 5 different positions to play, that all have different abilities, that all have different shot power and hit points, and what roles they play on that team. I remember just starting out, like understanding what a heavy is supposed to do is a difficult concept to grasp. And not only are they having to learn something new, they're kind of having to unlearn some of their existing habits in order to be able to function in the tournament. And so I think that when it comes down to it, it's just going to be too many things for them to adjust to in too short a time, especially considering that this is the highest level of competitive play that you'll get in a year. And so everyone's going to be bringing their A game regardless of what we place their teams on. So everyone's fighting for those higher spots, and I just don't know if that adjustment can be made quick enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll jump in next. So I'm actually gonna start with a couple of the good notes I put down, because I really thought about this. I didn't just throw Olympus in 8th, because I listened to the interview with Cool Beans and Taipan, and like these guys seem like they're really good at zone. Like these aren't just average players. Like these seem like potentially, if we transferred this over to a zone context, maybe these guys would be ranked within like the top 1 to 4. I don't know. So laser tag talent, I bet it's there. I bet it's there more than it is in probably some of the other teams coming to this tournament. I saw that they did a practice night with Space Marines 5 with Leech and Lone Soul. That gave me a lot of encouragement. Having some experienced veterans telling them how to do the game, giving them some practice. I'm so glad they're doing that and not just coming straight in. And the last thing is like Thanatos keeps saying, no one wants to see them get 0-pointed. They're going to have good vibes from the whole community, and they're going to have a lot of advice being poured into them, I bet, from the Australian players, the other Brisbane players who are out there. So I don't think they're going to be left to die. I think people are going to be trying to get them that win. But like you said, like it's just so many knowledge gaps, and this is such a high level of competition. It's going to be hard to see them catch up in time for them to take games off of these teams within the 4 to 5 day window they have. And the only other thing I'll add that wasn't already said by Kodama, when you're getting beat in these games, not staying in the games long enough to learn can be a problem. Plus the emotional frustration from getting beat over and over again this quickly. Like there's something called the zone of proximal development. We love to learn at like a good 5% above our comfort level. If you have to play at like 1,000% above your comfort level, it can become just pretty dysregulating. So if they can keep a cool head, I could see them playing well, but playing well for them would mean they become good enough to survive long enough to learn things and maybe take 1 or 2 games off of teams by the end of the week. That would be playing well for me. But Glaedr, very interested in your perspective. I was surprised by the 6th place.
Well, my entire knowledge base on these players is from Taipan, who, as you guys would know, has also played Zone and even won his own tournament recently. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he hasn't commented much, but all he has said is that they are good players. To clear that hurdle of obviously the rules and the new system. And once they get that, I think we'll all be very surprised at how they'll turn out. You can see, I mean, some of them have they've even had practice in SM5, so they're already starting to learn the concept of the game. And I hope that they take every advantage they can with the practice nights to just get in and play as often as they can together, just to try and figure out what they want to do and how they want to play in the field.
I would love to see this team go there, do a couple road trips before the tournament starts. just get in there and play some SM5. Join you guys on a Monday, or arrive a few days early. Like, I think it would really benefit them.
I think if there's anything like for them to keep in mind going into this tournament, what they're going to need if they do want to make their way out of this seeded or suspected 8th place finish is going to be their ability to talk about Space Marines 5 socially with the other experienced players at the tournament. Because one of the notes that I made when I was originally doing my rankings was that there's no experienced player on this team to help them through all of these knowledge gaps or to break down what's happening in games. And so I think that while usually for a team, I would recommend that they like isolate themselves from the rest of the tournament to have like an actual conversation amongst themselves and figure out what's going wrong. I think that it's the opposite is actually true for this team. I think that their best bet is to grab a player whose team is on a bye or who's sitting with them and ask them like, hey, what can we do to make this things flow better in our game? We're having a lot of struggle with this and this and this. Do you have any pointers? And so I think if they take away anything from watching this video, if they do, it would be to really get to know the other players at the tournament and enjoy the nerding out that all of us do.
That's excellent advice, I think. I don't want to place them here. There's definitely a part of me that was like trying to find the path, you know. What story can you imagine? But in order to place them higher, you have to take another team and imagine a scenario where they lose in finals to a team that only started playing this last week. Now, if you got 6 players who are that good, that coordinated, that willing to learn, you know, I could see it happening, but this also kind of speaks to the way I view the other 17.
I wanted to put everybody at 4th.
I dare say they're a bit of a wild card team more than anything.
Pun intended.
Oh, well done, Glaedr. All right, any final thoughts on Olympus?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Not at this stage.
Just so people know, I did try to find everybody's LF cards, and I might have found 1 or 2 of the ones, but I just put question marks. I don't know how experienced the other 3 players are, but from my knowledge, pretty much none of them actively play at least Space Marines 5. So, all right, we'll move on to the next team. All right, coming in at number 7, we have the Brisbane Laserforce crew. The community ranked this team at 6th place, although Kodama and I put them at 7th, and Glaedr put them down at 8th. They boast the 4th most Laserforce missions in total out of everybody coming to the tournament, and the 2nd most Brisbane SM5 missions. So this is definitely an interesting team to break down, but Glaedr, I'm going to hand it to you. What was your reasoning for putting them down at 8th?
So having had plenty of practice with and against them, I unfortunately feel that within the team structure itself, there's still a few issues that they haven't quite sorted out. And I mean, I'm like, just from watching them, I'm still not even sure if they have their set positions or like team compositions sorted, which is really unfortunate because you kind of want that sort of thing, you know, before the tournament starts. So there's a few issues just within the team itself around communication, the dynamic, how they want to play their positions or even play the field. So unfortunately, unless they get that sort of thing put together soon, I don't see them doing well. I think they'll take points early on, but once people start to get their act together, they'll start to drop off.
Absolutely. No, I can really appreciate the honest feedback for them. I think it's good. That was definitely one of my notes. You guys came out and you said, hey, we don't have an A, B, and C team. We just kind of have these 3 teams. It's like personality fits. But I've been looking over you guys' practice nights on LF Stats, and this team consistently loses to the BDRL unless they have like a player or two from Brisboom playing with them. And you're right, the roles have been all over the place. I can't tell who's playing what, except for I think we can say Lucy Dune's probably playing a resupply. But and this is such an interesting one because there's so much experience, so many games on all these players, but so many of them haven't been playing competitively for a very long time. And I'll be really interested to see, what does that mean? How is a player impacted when they play competitively, leave for a long time, and then come back? That's not everyone on this team, but it's a good amount of them. The average year where a membership was created, 1999. I think that's amazing. It's really cool. But I agree. I have to, without really knowing a lot about these players, this is the presumption I'm making. And maybe one big thing I'll say, one of the negatives I put for this team, I'm having trouble identifying a quote unquote carry player. Now, I think having a carry is not a great way to win tournaments, but I am wondering like who's going to overpower other people on this team using their pure technical skill. I'm not saying that everyone needs to have that, and Cayman made a great video saying why like the technical skill is like the least important thing. You get your fundamentals down. But if all 6 players are playing more like the zone control support, like I think a success story for them would look something like the Kodama, your 2021 Syracuse team, which was very zone control heavy in nature. The Soy Boy Commander, the Dill Scout, often would have people falling into kind of a Venus flytrap kind of thing. And maybe they can pull off something like that, but I mean, it's probably not a good place for me to speak because I haven't physically watched most of these players. But yeah, that's my concern. Rama, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm familiar with 3 of the players on this team, less so Sexy Meow, but I have seen Toyota, Sexy Meow, and Lucidin all play, and I think that, like, I have a lot of respect for them as players, but it's similar to what you've been saying, is that they really don't have those players that feed off of all of that support energy. And so like you can say a lot of really
Yes,
good
well
things
said.
about all of the players who show up on these really powerful teams but aren't the ones scoring 13k on Commander. They aren't the ones who are getting 9 medic hits on Scout, but they still are consistently playing on these high level teams because of what they're able to do for the players who are being flashy and showstoppy. And I just don't see any of the players who could do that on this team. And I think that there's a lot of experience, and there's something to be said for that, especially because 5. I mean, I'll lump Lucy in with this as well. All 6 of them are playing at home, and so the main thing that made me put them above the zone team, Olympus, was the home field advantage. But again, with looking at the scorecards from the previous members nights and the practice and stuff like that, it seems like they just don't have any of the players who can have that moment that causes a ripple in the entire enemy team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that even though they might be playing fundamentally good Space Marines 5, ultimately they're just going to get slowly squeezed out every single game.
I think despite not having the carry player as you described, players like Sexy Meow and Troy will probably surprise a few people.
That is what I'm wondering. I wrote it right here. I know those 2 played in 2018, and watching the members night stats, I see them come in and out on 3-hit. Toyota played a lot of heavy for the Brisbane Bees in 2018, and that was a tough competition to play heavy in. And I asked the Fear Turkey about Meow because they were playing on the same team. He had a lot of great things to say about her game knowledge, her ability to support, and be in the right spots. But yeah, it's like, I'm like, if Screever was on this team, just, if he happened to go to this team instead, I might have placed this team 2 or 3 spots higher, just because like they could support the heck out of him. But I'm wondering who that's going to be. Is it going to be Scraps? That's maybe my guess, but I don't know.
I think he wants to be based on the practice games, and he very much might. He has definitely got a high skill base, or high enough. But yeah, I would pick probably Troy or Sexy Meow on the and that spot.
Can you guys give me, like, can you find a story in your head where this team places higher? What would it take for them, do you think?
I think that a large part of this is going to come down to how well Troy behaves as a leader on this team. I think that when I look across this board, that's the player who I have the most respect for. He was on the team that took second in 2023 that we had a major uphill battle against the entirety of the tournament. And I think that even though he was maybe not the carry player on that team, there's a lot of experience to be gained from being in that environment and from having to play on these really high octane teams. And if he can figure out how to articulate that and transfer it to the rest of his team, I could see this team placing higher. I think that there's enough experience and home field advantage for sure. And if they have the drive to pay attention to everything that's going on around them and adapt to all these new play styles and the higher level of play, then the potential's there.
Yeah. I think, as I said earlier, if they lock down their team dynamic and communicate well and not make silly mistakes, like maybe dropping a nuke in an open area or an exposed area at the wrong time, or any time really, I think they could definitely place a lot higher. But at the current level, I don't think so.
And for me, the one player that stands out to me on this team that changes a lot of variables is Lucidune. For the same reasons I talked about the resupply when I was talking about Azra. If Lucy's going to be one of the resupply, I saw her play in 23, pretty fresh on the scene. She wasn't competing super well with all those teams because of how much experience there is. But then you take this player who's so passionate about SM5 and you make her work at the Laserforce, like the Laserforce HQ, and she gets to be around all these amazing players day in and day out, week in and week out. I'd wonder if she could bring a spark of more, like, I guess, just a more modern strategy. Help bring the team in with like advice from other players. If she could be more of that on the field shot caller, controller. I don't know what her style is, but my encouragement for them would be, figure out your roles, even if it's not perfect, get it locked down. And I would start with finding out which of your players could play a high hit diff commander. If none of you feel comfortable like breaking in against one of the higher level teams by yourself, it's okay to play to your strengths. You can win in unconventional ways. Control the field, zone control, communication, good fundamentals. That can get you far. I'd start there and build a team around that and practice just that until the tournament happens. Cool.
I think you're right about Lucy. She's definitely stepped up since the 2023 NATS. Her skill has increased a lot since then, and to the point where she even pulled an 11,000 point commander game a couple weeks ago.
Maybe Lucy Commander? I don't know. You gotta look for you don't look for who can do it right today, but who can grow into it. Who can have a team build a strategy around them and be able to pull off 11K commander games. 11K commander games with 1 meta kit or 0 meta kits. That could work. Just saying. Okay, any more thoughts on this team?
I think I'm good.
Awesome. All right, let's move on. Coming in at 6th, the Loveland Curveballs. Azra, HVD, Lizzie Lizard, Redneck Tech, The Babe, Sabo. I should have been saying the names out all along. 7th in total missions played. 7th in Brisbane SM5 missions, tied with Olympus at 0. They come in at 6. Kodama and I have them at 6, Glaedr and the community at 7th. Glaedr,
Are
you need
you
to kick
reading
us
my
off
cards,
again.
Luke? Are you
Reading
reading my cards?
Your cards, huh? You and I are aligned these first 3, but we're not later on.
Okay, good.
Actually, a couple disclaimers. One, personally, I made sure I locked in my rankings before I got either of yours. I didn't want to be influenced, which was hard, and I was definitely tempted to be influenced by you both. But second, this little power ranking on the top left, just so everyone knows, that is what the community voted as their average power ranking. So it's not indicative of the consensus placement, it's indicative of the community opinion. All right.
Is that out of 10?
Out of 10, yes. All right. Later, take us away.
Yeah, so I've got them where they are simply because the team itself, aside from R&T, are really a bunch of unknowns to me.
Fair enough.
I did try and watch as many games as I could, and I went back through. I've looked at some of their stats as well. Believe I overheard in one of your earlier videos that you were coaching them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they may struggle until they just get used to the arena. Once that happens, they'll start getting points on the board. I think some of the similarities between arenas, just the multi-level and some of the openness between your top level, like second floor, first floor, they may be used to, so they'll be able to carry some of their experience from the home arena across. But it is, they're a bunch of unknowns, and not sure how they'll go. They may place a lot higher, but.
Well, Cayman, you should know about most of these. You want to go next?
I love this team so much. I wanted so badly to place them higher than this, but when I was looking across at everything else and I was trying to imagine the games, it was just so hard not to put them here. And I think that a large reason why I think they're going to end up in this spot with this roster of teams in this tournament is there isn't a single player on this team who shines through as like the wise, experienced like guru who can show them everything that's going on in their team. You've definitely got excellent leadership. You've got, as we were saying before, Azra's coming into being an excellent team leader just in every aspect. I'm sure that you see it way more than I do at the members nights, etc.
Can confirm.
And there's something to be said for that, but like when none of your players have the experience to be able to break down these higher level of situations in these scenarios, it comes down to the same issue that I was talking about with Olympus, where they need somebody to tell them like, hey, this strategy you're trying on Commander is not working and you need to adjust it, and here's why. I distinctly remember when I was playing in Brisbane in 2018 and I ended up getting shoved onto Commander. It wasn't until one of the higher experienced players came up to me and was like, hey, you need to stop stacking your nukes because it's not working at all. And I haven't stacked a nuke since. And so, mostly satirical. I think that the most like the biggest compliment that I can give to this team is the mental. I think that this team is the least likely to blow up at a game. I think that if it comes down to like which team can keep their cool the best throughout the tournament, this is the one to push them up 3 or 4 spots. You've got just wholesome energy across the board. I've played on it. My first ever tournament was on a team with Redneck Tech, and we got 7th out of 8. And that man did not break his smile the entire time. And so I think that there's a lot of potential for growth on this team with the 2 new players in the Babe and Sabo, but there's also just so much raw talent across the board. We've seen excellent showings from Ash VD and Azra in many tournaments. I think that When it comes down to it, it'll be how well they harness all of this strength.
Definitely. I gotta say, I love this team too. I'm more biased. It doesn't mean as much coming from me. But I was close to putting them in 5th. I'm not gonna lie. I'll have to explain it as I go later when you find out my 5th place team. But I couldn't. It felt the only reason I would have done it was to be hot takey when I really thought about it and was honest with myself. I think they're gonna place 6th, but I don't think they're gonna place lower than 6th. And I think I would sooner bet on them placing 5th than 7th personally. I've got all the hot scoops on this team because yes, I see them every week except for RNT, and I've been giving them pretty extensive notes. And that's gonna be part of my reasoning. So the good, I think this team might have the most games of SM5 in the last 2 years out of all the players at this tournament, out of all the teams. Like they don't have the most, they have 7th most in general, but they have been playing constantly. 3 of them work at LLT. Sabo, I'll highlight him. He's a rookie, but look at how many games he has. He has more than Ash VD, almost as many as Azra. He has the 9th most games in Loveland, and he's been playing for 2 years. He's playing constantly. He's never not in the arena. And I wanted to highlight, like, yeah, these players look new, but this will be, Azra's 4th away event, Ash VD's 3rd away event. So they may not have the guru level of experience like a DK, like a Rusty, like a Tragedy or a Thunder, but they are more middle than brand new, I would say. They are arriving early to practice in the arena in Brisbane, which is awesome, like 4 or 5 days early, and they're planning to practice. They're consistently playing together every week. We're giving them about 2 to 4 games a week together with videos to go back and review the footage. And the last big note I'll give is like, there's a Laserball bump I have a theory about. I think Laserball players are at an advantage coming into SM5 compared to people who have played like D&D and Highlander. I think some of the ways they're learning to see the game through Laserball, coming from that angle, I'm seeing a lot more talent and capacity out of these players, particularly Lizzie Lizard, the Babe, and Sabo, than I think I've seen in most rookies. So I'll start with that. Just good. I'll get to the bad in a little bit, but let you guys have a few more. I'll let you respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of drive on this team. Lots of dedication to getting better. Lots of desire to improve. They're going to be paying a lot of attention to what's going on in their games, what's going right, what's going wrong, how to make the adjustments. And that's one of the things that I love about this team is that I expect them to really grow by the end of this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's something to be said about taking a moment to step back and go, you know what, we're playing a game that we find really, really fun. And if you lose sight of that, that's how you start playing bad. As the only times that I've ever felt like I was playing below my potential was when I was not enjoying the game. And so if they focus too hard on trying to get better, on trying to place higher than we've ranked them or higher than they think that they'll rank, then that runs the risk of actually having the inverse effect, I think.
I could see that. Go ahead.
I think your comments on the Laserball side of things are extremely accurate, but also the physicality of Laserball games, especially in the Brisbane arena, because it's surprisingly large compared to others. But also being able to rely on your teammates in a Laserball game translates across as well. So having that trust that your teammates will be positioned where they need to be for you to play well. If they're able to bring that to the arena, then they'll definitely do a lot better than most people would expect.
So let me share a couple of reasons why I don't have them higher. One, they have no arena experience, and I think that does matter. They have very little NATS experience. Ash and Azra and Liz all played last year. Redneck Tech has a ton of NATS experience. He's such an interesting player because almost all of his missions are from NATS. which is so interesting when you don't have a home site and like that's all you've done year after year.
He's the pirate.
Honestly, he is. But that comment you made about their emotional state, I find really interesting. I would agree with you here at this point, but about 3 or 4 months ago, this was not an emotionally stable team. But after encouraging them to, work on themselves and build up their connection and friendship, they've come a long way, and they can handle a lot more than they used to. So I have a lot of hope for them. And RNT being on that team, yeah, he's going to help provide just some wholesome support.
You consider him an emotional foundation.
Yeah, I do.
Sometimes, because he's such a lovely guy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I do think RNT is one guy to talk about here. RNT has not had amazing success in previous tournaments. Now, RNT usually comes in towards the end of the team selection process and ends up often on a Merc team or a lower ranked team anyway that needs a filler piece. So I don't blame him for this. But I do think one of the key pieces here is going to be finding a place where RNT can really thrive, because he doesn't play very actively. And it's possible that he'll be a weak link on this team if he's not in a job he'll succeed in. But that being said, I do think that this team is smart enough to find a place for him. And I know that he has the talent. Kodama, do you remember a game against Loveland in 2017 where RNT scored 8.5K on Scout against us?
I do. I don't remember the game super vividly, but I do remember that it did happen.
It happened. And we
Yeah.
felt it.
Yeah. No, he's an enigma. He really is. Like, I mean, he's a QZAR player, and so there's something to be said about the fact that this isn't his main system, but he's also been playing Armageddon for longer than I've been alive, I think. And so I think that yes, he's got a lot of experience, but it's all across a bunch of different systems, and I don't think he's ever really taken a long stretch of time to really sharpen his Space Marines experience and his
Mhm.
play. Which, I mean, I don't want to discredit him for it. It's not his primary system. But he does have an actual contribution to make to a team. I've only played with him on the one team, but on that team he wasn't a detriment, I wouldn't say. He was just not as big an impact as some of the other players.
Mhm.
And so I agree with what you said about finding the spot for him on the team, because I think that the other 5 have been playing together long enough that they can kind of adjust a little bit if they need to shift, not necessarily their positions, but the way that they play. But if they can solidify what RNT needs to do in a game and just say, hey, go to blue tower and shoot people, and then everything will be easier after that.
I think he would fill that support scout role quite well, especially in the Brisbane arena as it is, since they put in the mini golf. Just being able to sit in one spot or maybe just a couple of spots and just shoot the players that are coming across the middle of the field makes a massive difference in how people can play the game.
Seems like there's always a few spots like that in every arena where it's like, this is a high traffic zone. You can't fail here. Like, not really, as long as you're aiming the right direction. So that's good advice. It doesn't feel right to not mention that not only did Azra almost win Rookie of the Year last year, there was a camp of us that were definitely pulling for her, but Ash VD was the Rookie of the Year last year and had an insane tournament on Commander.
Just looking at those stats for last year for him, having an average MVP of 17 points for a rookie is extremely well for a commander.
Kodama, how did they do in the random draw recently?
In
Syracuse?
Oh, in Syracuse in January. I don't remember who all. Oh, you're talking about that player in particular.
Yeah,
You're talking about
Ash.
VD.
Yeah.
Oh, very, very well. It was. My frame of reference is always difficult in Syracuse in particular because I feel like that arena really brings out just how talented the aggressive players are.
Interesting.
It's very conducive to playing the way that Ash plays, and so I think that they definitely have the talent to be able to thrive in Brisbane. It's like Glaedr was saying, it's an arena that really benefits from you having athleticism. It's a rough one, and I think that there will definitely be a lot of games where we go, "Oh, Ash is running away with this game easily." It's just going to be a matter of how well the structure goes with the rest of the team backing that like forward commander play. That's going to really decide how it unfolds.
That'll be interesting. I know we keep lingering, but it feels wrong to move on without at least like we kind of glaze over Lizzie Lizard and the Babe.
The Lizard.
Like the Babe has the least amount of games coming out of Loveland here, but the Babe is very committed to asking for advice and improving. They are a very intelligent and cool-headed player. I'm excited to see them play. And Lizzie Lizard came into NATS last year with like 30 games of SM5. Now she's got a few hundred, and she is definitely finding lots of different ways for her to use her mind in the game. They both are great synergy pieces. I'm excited to see what Azra and Ash kind of do with this team of newer players they've been given compared to last year. Any final thoughts?
It's going to be fun regardless. I'm so excited to watch this team play. I'm going to be this is going to be the team that I very selfishly cheer on the most from the sidelines. The other US teams, they don't need my endorsement. They already know that I love them, of course.
Go Curveballs.
Yes.
All right, let's move on. All right, number 5, Auckland A, coming in at 5th. Power rank of 6.37. Community and myself put them in 5th place. Glaedr in 4th, and Kodama in 3rd. They have the 5th most missions total, and the 5th most SM5 missions in Brisbane. So I need to start on this one, unfortunately, and I kind of like mentally rehearsed this in my head because I was dreading this moment. Because I love these guys. I think these are all wonderful human beings, and I'm gonna be, if I had a non-Loveland site to cheer for, I'm cheering for Auckland. New Zealand changed my life. These are all wonderful, friendly people. I like the way they play. But I have them at 5th, and here's why. When I thought about Auckland as a site over my time playing since 2015, I've seen them as having poor performances compared to most of the other sites. I know they've done better in the past before I really came around, and like I saw them in 2017, 2019, 23. I think it comes down to this. It's important. We speak about how important it is to have an amazing rounded team, all 6 players doing really well. But I also would argue, and people can disagree with me if they want, but I think having 2-3 hits that are enabled to do very well is important for winning games. I view the 3 hits kind of like if you're chopping down a tree, 3 hits are your axe. There are a couple of axes. Most of your other players are more like knives, and they can help you. But like if I need the tool for the job. If I want to break into an enemy team, I'm not sending my scout. I'm not sending my ammo. I'm sending my commander or my heavy. Like they are enabled to do their job. You got a comment there? No, you're good. So as I've watched Auckland perform over the last few years, it's been built on a guy next door heavy, and often a lot of rotating cast members that were not super consistent. And Morange kind of entered the picture, and he started out not doing so well in tournaments. 2019, he didn't do incredibly well. 2023, Morange exploded. He was an amazing player, and my team felt the fury of Guy Next Door and Morange on 3-hit. And they were a great combo, right? Guy Next Door, I've said he's one of the best defensive players I've ever seen. He's a wall. That's his style of heavy. And you need to pair a wall heavy with an aggressive, dominant commander, which Morange did in 23. Now, from my understanding, Guy Next Door is not playing 3-hit. Maybe he is. He's not made that official, but I am projecting as though he's not because he keeps saying that he's not. He might be on resupply. And if D&D is on resupply, I kind of see this team in a rebuilding sense. I see them needing to retool, restructure the way their team fundamentally works, and that this might be the start of a new era for Auckland A. If G&D is not playing heavy, who steps up? I'm personally betting that we might see a Leech Morange combo on 3-hit. Or maybe Know-It-All gets in there on Commander. I could see that happening, and he's definitely got the talent for that. But because of that, I see lack of experience potentially being a problem for this team. I also I've done a little research, and you know what? This is not going to be received super well by the guys in Auckland, I think, but I did some studies. I took the average MVP from all players from their members' nights compared to an away tournament, right? So, like, you know, Lovelanders lose like an average of 3 MVP points when they go to an away tournament when you compare them to their members' night stats. Auckland has the most out of all sites with a 6-site sample, the 6 most traveling sites. They lose an average of almost 5 MVP points when going away. So when you're looking at their stats, I see them all doing really well, but you got to think of the context. Who are they playing against? Is it possible that they don't perform as well, like they're not at the level at this point of some of the other sites? So I would be very curious to see who steps into this new role and can they build like a new, like, innovative strategy with these 6 players. I think they can. I'm not saying they can't place higher than this, but this is where I'm projecting them personally. And to be fair, like we just talked all this stuff about Loveland, I couldn't do it. I couldn't put Auckland below Loveland. I think they're just too experienced and too talented, especially in Brisbane, but I'm putting them 5th. Later?
I only slightly would disagree. I dare say, just like you mentioned in 2023, Morange is night and day difference between that tournament and this previous tournament. But even having played him against him in both 2018 and 2023, he was scary in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not trying to hype myself up or anything, but as like a Brisbane player, that's hard to achieve. He was, I think, the only other player that's managed to achieve that would be you, Kodama. playing against his scary.
Who, me?
I concur.
And I think he'll be coming into this tournament with like a fire under him, especially if he remembers how his team did in 2018. But I look at these stats you have up here as well, and despite players like Rusty or Tragedy that have 8,000 games, in even in SM5, 50 games is not a small number in a single arena. And as my positioning is based on G&D being heavy as well, because despite what he says, I think that he'll fall into that niche, because I know he tried to step away from it in 2023, but ended up having to play heavy and had his amazing flu game in the finals against your team.
Yeah, amazing.
And even just while while essentially dying in the field. He was just still just a wall. And I think just the know-it-all and the essence wild cards, despite having not played in Brisbane, know-it-all is an excellent player. The field,
Agreed.
the field itself leads itself quite well to Leach's play style. Because I do remember in 2018, he was everywhere. Every time I'd stepped somewhere, he was on the bottom floor in a little corner. He'd shoot me in the back, or he was, just tucked in on one of the towers, and he would just go quickly from place to place. Him and his brother. So I think if they have their dynamic down, then they will definitely be a nuisance of a team. And the only reason I didn't put them as third is because of I'll explain it in my third when we get to my third ranked team. But it's a simple reason. But I think, I do think if they do manage to get that team dynamic down quick, they may even be podium finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, interested to hear what you got, Kodama.
Okay, so I'm actually, contrary to what my face has been saying this whole time, I'm going to start with the thing that I actually have against them, and I'll kind of build up from there, because I think that the main issue this team has is that it's oops all top end, and there isn't really like, I see a lot of really strong, talented, like heavy hitter players, and with the exception of Lone Soul, I don't really see anyone who comfortably fits that support character or support player role on the team. I'm sure that they've been working through this dynamic, because they actually do get to at least practice a little bit together on a semi-regular basis. But like, I've seen Leach be the fill-in secondary aggressive player when Morange has to go be more midfield, or even swap into playing commander. We saw him play a couple of commander games in 2023. And Know It All also was playing commander for the other Auckland team. And so I see a lot of players who are, like we were talking about before, that carry player. The one who's going to be the showstopper, the one who's going to be lifting the team up and capitalizing on all of the space that's created by the other players on the team. And I don't see them having enough of that underbelly to be able to really shine past 2 and 1. But also, this team is just so chock full of talent. You've got G&D, who's been the New Zealand staple heavy player, and in my opinion, top 3 heavy players in the world. And you've got Morange, who we talked about, who's just been really on the up and up, and finally taking stride, like I was saying in my player to watch question. And I actually think that Brisbane is an arena that's going to really show Morange's play style very, very well. I think that even though Auckland is his home arena, I think that it's constricting for him. I think that his play style is much better suited to a wide open arena. And I think that he's going to be able to do a lot more with a wider field of vision that he has available to him in Brisbane. And I think that Lone Soul is one of the most underrated players. Anytime I hear anybody talking about him or his performance in tournaments, I've seen him play a role that I don't think he should be in on a team, and then I watch him play a social night after the tournament or during one of the in between times, and I'm like, did Lone Soul just drop 12K on Commander against some of the best players in the world? Am I the only person that saw that? Why is nobody putting this man on Commander? I'm not saying that necessarily he should be doing that in this tournament, but there's a lot of talent that people aren't seeing in his play. Every time I watch him play, he's playing incredibly smart. And I think that if we can get some of the like typical aggressive play out of some of the other players and get them more in the mindset of handling, like lifting Morange up, I think that's what's going to bring this team all the way to third. I think that there's definitely a large chance that this team could fall short. But the biggest thing for me is that they're going to have to learn how to play to their strengths and weaknesses and adapt the way that they play. And they might not even be playing typical Space Marines to do it. But if they can identify all of these different unique characteristics that this composition has and then utilize them, that's what's going to allow them to soar above some of the other teams in this general bracket.
Well, I like those reasons. It sounds like whether G&D is playing heavy or he's not, a lot's going to fall on the shoulders of Morange. I'm
no pressure, buddy.
Yeah. I could be misrepresenting Auckland Day from 23, but from what I remember, they tried Leech on Commander and Morange on Scout for a while. They wanted Leech Commander, but synergistically, it worked better with Morange on Commander because he's definitely not like the shoot you in the back, sneak around. I mean, can you imagine Morange like 8 feet tall, just like sneaking around trying to be that kind of support player? Like, I think he did find his stride in being that pairing with the defensive G&D. So if that happens, like, I've never been to Brisbane, Kodama, like, if he can go out there and be one of those top commanders with the right support system around him, with the team backing him up, that would change a lot for me. But I think I need to stop being so apologetic and just be the jerk. Like, I need to see him prove it in an away tournament, because in other tournaments, even come out to Loveland in duos, and that wasn't the most serious tournament, but I haven't seen him play at that level, anywhere near that level before. So can he come out 2 years later, 2 more years of experience under the belt, and be that amazing, like, team offensive spearhead? We'll find out.
I think Kodama's comment about the field layout lending itself to Morange's play style is definitely true. He has that height advantage that does lend itself well in the Brisbane arena. There's a lot of random items that sort of block field of view for the shorter players. And there are some shorter players such as Sexy Meow or Twin who can work around that quite well. But when we get a tall player like Tom, Dude
Broman Esquire.
Yeah, when he came out in 2018, absolute menace as an ammo, simply because he was tall. So he could get those shots over objects without having to lift his gun, and it was just he was pure menace. So having that as a commander, I can definitely see him doing well.
I think the biggest thing for me is going to be the combo between him and Leech, if it does end up being Leech Scout Morange Commander. Like, I can see Morange playing this arena and picking, because of his height and just the way that he plays, him picking up a bunch of random special points where you're not expecting them to be. And then because Leech is such an aggressive scout, if they just coordinate really, really well on every single one of Morange's nukes, they're going to break a team every single time he's got one, because he's going to be picking them up quickly. And if he sends Leech in early, because Leech is definitely the type of player who can go in and will take a couple of hits in order to be there when the nuke goes off, they're going to be kicking teams a lot easier than you might expect.
I'm really interested in Know-It-All and Essence, just being the newer players on this team. Like I said, we've had a rotating cast sometimes with Auckland, But these two players seem, one, like they are already towards the top of their site in terms of skill level, and they seem pretty committed. I wonder if they could be around for a while, and how do they slot in synergistically with these other players who are more consistent members of Auckland Day. Know It All on his podcast with me, like he said, like I'm really aggressive. He's working on his defense. He's trying to be more of a balanced player. Um, but it's possible that like he and Morange might not synergize well if neither of them, if like they both want to be that spearhead. Essence was described as more cerebral. Maybe he could be a good defensive piece alongside Lone Soul, or more supportive. I don't need to be at the front. I can enable people. If they can figure out a way to make this team really balanced top to bottom and innovate good strategies to use in this arena, I would not be surprised if I'm wrong, and I hope they prove me wrong. I really do, because I really like all these guys.
I think one point that we're missing here would be who would fit well in resupply, because in the Brisbane arena, the resupply is a very integral part of even just defending resupply. But I'm not sure. Looking at the team, like I'm not even sure who I would pick to put in those positions.
Well, obviously, I'm projecting G&D and Lone Soul. I think those will be the resupply, just for my hot take.
And that would be a decent resupply to go up against too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh.
Who do you think, Kodama?
I think so. This is kind of what I was getting at with the oops all top end thing, is that I'm not sure who's going to be playing resupply on this team. I think that there's a possibility that what they end up doing is they allow Essence to play medic, and because I saw in his player spotlight that he seems to be a pretty athletic person, and definitely athleticism on a medic in the Brisbane arena is really important, because if you do get kicked, you need to get out of there fast. And so having the potential to put him into that medic spot and have him actually be able to do what he needs to do could be very good. I was really excited about the idea of the duality between Lone Soul and Leech playing scouts and being kind of the counterparts, because I think that there's a lot of times teams are like, oh, I have two really fast athletic scout players who are really aggressive and can score a lot of points, and then you put them on the same team and suddenly they're in the same spot every single time, and it ends up ruining them. And so I think that if they had more support on the back end to put Know It All and Essence on resupply, that would be what I would want to see. But I just don't know how well that synergy has already been built. It's gonna depend on what they've been practicing with in their members' nights. If they can manage those two, I think that this team is going to be really a force to be reckoned with. But if they end up having to slot some of their more experienced players down in order to make it function, that's when we might see some struggles.
All right, any final thoughts on this team? Keep the ball rolling. Fourth place. International Men of Mystery. Power rank 6.85. Number 1 in total missions played out of all teams in the tournament. Number 4 in Brisbane missions played. Later, you have them in 5th. Community put them in 4th. I put them in 3rd and Kodama in 2nd, so we have our first fully different spread. Later, I feel like you unfairly are at the bottom for a lot of these, but you get to go first.
So my ranking for these players is unfortunately entirely based on age. And
ooh, that's spicy.
Yeah. So as much as DK and Than are good players, especially when they put in a team that supports them and that they can support, I think that, and they're going to hate me for it, they're getting on in years, and it won't bode them well in the Brisbane arena. I think Fear Turkey will be an integral part to get them any sort of points on the board, and I can't really say much about Simply OK or Sergeant Tucker. I don't think I've met Simply OK, and I unfortunately don't remember much about Sergeant Tucker. El Diablo, he's the wild card of the team, I would say. He's obviously he's played tournaments before. He's played in Brisbane before, and he's not a bad player by any stretch. So he'll be the one that I think might throw a wrench in some other team's plans. But I unfortunately, just with the other teams as well, I don't see them. Yeah, I don't see them, at least not podium finish. I don't see them finishing dead last, but that middle-ish, is where I would put them.
Absolutely. I'll list some of my good reasons. Because third, I think, is a pretty strong support for this team. This is the most experienced team, and I think experience goes a long way. There's a variety in play styles. It's definitely more, maybe not whoops all top like Kodama said, but we actually got. If anything, it might be a little too middle support like heavy. We got some great synergy, and this is something I'm trying to take away from the random draw that just happened. That Kodama, your team, I think, from what I understand, my opinion, I think your team thrived on synergy as one of the main reasons why you guys were so dominant. You know, Aiden would tell me about the way you guys would talk about strategy, and even in a random draw, like that's supposed to be the hardest place to get synergy. You made a bunch of players that weren't the biggest names shine bright. So that's a big inspiration for my ranking. I think that having Death Knight and the Fear Turkey on this team brings some of the most creative and innovative minds to the game. And like, and Sergeant Tucker, Simply OK, they're no slouches in terms of strategy, but like I've gotten to have lots of great conversations with those two, and I think they're two of the most willing team leaders to do something different when things aren't working. I like the emotional stability that Than brings. And I just, again, this is going to be so chalk because the Fear Turkey is one of my best friends, but I think we are now in prime Fear Turkey years. It's been a lot of, oh, he's growing. He might get there someday. Maybe this is the first year we see it, like at an away tournament, him lifting people with him to a really high spot. I could see it. No pressure, buddy. But here's why I'm not putting them higher than third. I think they definitely could take second. But I don't see... This was supposed to be the US West. They went with International. This is US West. They are not as hungry as US West from 23. Kodama, like, just briefly tell us, what did it cost you to be a part of US West? What did it cost to get that first place trophy?
It was a lot of prep work. It was an uphill battle from square one before the tournament, just because we were all from different sites. We didn't have the ability to practice together all that much. We had a few opportunities to test team synergy, and it really did help, but not being able to practice on a regular basis was painful. But we put in the work to actually like get together and have team meetings and talk about how we were going to win and how we were going to play the field. And so even though we didn't have as much games across the board in the Auckland field at the time, we had spent so much time thinking about it that it felt a lot more comfortable to play in the arena. And then the adjustments that we made were a lot easier because we had already spent a lot of time familiarizing ourselves with it. And it also, every single player on that team was determined to take first with a fiery rage. And I think that, yeah, it takes a lot of energy to be able to maintain that drive throughout a full 4 to 5 day event.
Thank you for that. That really accentuates the point I'm about to make. They're not that hungry. They're just not. I think some of them are. I think they're all hungry, like in general, like they want to prove themselves, they want to win. But when people say you gotta want it, you can't show up with no prep work and just really want it. Like part of wanting it is the prep work. Now they haven't had a chance to put the practices in. They only got to find out what their team was like a month, 6 weeks ago. And they are doing virtual meetings. I do like that, but they're not flying out to practice with each other. And to be honest, like I do worry about the motivations of some of the team members. Like, I think any of you on US West would have done whatever it took to win. But I think some of the players on this team are, oh gosh, yep, okay, here's the hot take. Sorry, I'm going to be the jerk again. I think some of you are more concerned with hanging out with your old friends, being at the holiday park, or some of you are more concerned with proving yourselves to the community, playing the role that you want to play, and not playing what the team needs. If I was convinced that this team had at least the level of hunger, even lacking the prep time that US West had, I would have put them second. But I put them third. Because I think they're going to mostly get it together. I think they're mostly going to overcome their flaws, but I don't think they're going to overcome all of them. Prove me wrong, guys, because I want to see you face Rusty in the finals.
All right, so that brings it to me, I assume, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I think that this team has the most flexibility of the entire tournament. And I don't mean that in the sense that like a lot of the players can play a bunch of different roles. Obviously, the Fear Turkey, Death Knight, Simply Okay are all more than experienced on both, or I guess all three hit, scout, and resupply. But they also just across the board have incredible adaptability in playstyle. If I tell the Fear Turkey that he needs to play more defensive this game, it's a super easy switch for him to make. The same is true for Death Knight. The same is true for Old Man Thanatos. The same is true for Simply Okay, of course. And I just like I can't imagine that this many tactical minds on a team won't be able to utilize that throughout the course of a 4-day tournament. I think that if the event was shorter, that I would have placed them 2, if not 3 places lower. I think that the place where this team is going to shine through is going to be their ability to adapt to the field and the way that the other teams are playing. One of the things that allowed us to be so successful in 2023 was the fact that we took every game, win or lose, and actually bothered to think about what was going right, what we were doing wrong, how we were going to make the adjustments, what was going to change about the way we played. And so we never once got complacent. And a large part of that was DK as a leader. Having DK as a member of the team to be able to say, hey, keep your head in the game. We still got 3 more days to go. Or, hey, it's just a loss. We've still got 3 more days to go to really come through. I think that that's what's going to end up showing through on this team. They're probably going to take some major hits in the first couple of days. I predict that they'll probably be seated closer to 5th after the first couple of days, and then it's going to be their swing back in the last day of round robin and in bracket play where they're going to really show what they're made of. And I mean, you've got, not only do you have 5 NATS winners on this team, you've got 3 NATS winners from last year and 1 NATS winner from the previous year. And so it's not like old skill, it's new and very successful skill that's across the board on this team. Definitely there's some interesting questions about synergy. El Diablo, of course, has always kind of been a nomad as far as Space Marines 5 goes. So it'll be interesting to see how he ends up slotting in on this team, where they're going to find a good spot for him. But I have so much respect for all of these players, and I think that they've got a really, really good spread of different play styles to be able to play this field. The only Achilles heel really that I see on this team is the potential for mental boom, if I'm being completely honest. And I mean, that might be a hot take. If I piss people off, then
no, I'll join you
whatever.
on that.
But definitely there's potential for some major disagreements and some stubbornness on this team. I think that a lot of it is going to come down to how well DK and Fan can mediate all of it, because there's going to be some hot heads after some key losses, and being able to rein it all in and keep everybody on the same page is going to be really, really important on this team.
Glaedr, you have any thoughts about our positive takes there?
Well, no,
Oh, that's okay. That's
not
okay.
really.
Let me talk about 3 of the players that aren't talked about as much in there. First, let's start with El Diablo. Like I would say some things about him that I also said about Redneck Tech. He's often come in at the last minute, placed onto a team that was already like a Merc team or not slated to place very high. So part of it, he's had a rough go of it from the beginning. But I mean, look at the mission count. I think he has been to the most Laserforce sites out of any person in the world. And he's never been given so much of a chance to really like thrive or find his stride, find his role, what he's good at, and get to be around players who are this knowledgeable about the game. So I'm actually really, he was one of my considerations for players I'm excited to watch. I'd love to see if we see a new version of El Diablo come out in this, getting to actually be a built-in part of a well-structured team. Simply OK and Sergeant Tucker, they are 2 of the best players at the Loveland site, and they are now current world champions. They were the awesome resupply duo that we had for the most part. They've often been very supportive players. One of my concerns for this team is, can these 3 players step up into roles that they didn't have before? Because one of my big concerns is like, who's going to be the other 3-hit apart from Fear Turkey, who I would be shocked if Fear Turkey isn't a 3-hit. Part of me has thought, well, I think Death Knight would be a great candidate for 3-hit, but I don't know if he really wants to do that. Or if Glaedr is right that he's just like, old man doesn't want to do it or he can't do it. I don't believe that, but I've also heard Brisbane can be very physically daunting. I think he's one of the best players in the world at this point. And if it's not him, potentially Simply OK, Sergeant Tucker, El Diablo, I don't know. I think these players are going to need to step up and do things they haven't done before, not just in terms of roles, but like, I agree with you, Kodama, holding it together when things are hard, because this personality conflicts, selfish desires could get in the way of this team being what they could.
I think we're going to get to see the legendary DK Commander. That's what I'm excited about. I want it so bad.
DK, you can't disappoint Kodama like that. Look at that face.
You'd have to go back and see some of the 2017 games because he was in there. He was aggressive in 2017 as commander for the few games that he did play. So I would be excited if he played commander in Brisbane as well. He's one of those short players that I think could quite easily navigate the difficulties of the Brisbane arena as a shorter player. But I would say this team is probably contrary to Kodama's comment on the Auckland team, is that they're, instead of being like oops all top heavy, they're more oops all bottom heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these players fit into resupply, but you've only got 2 resupply spots to fill. So it'd be interesting to see how they would adapt to other positions.
I definitely think Simply OK can be an aggressive player. And I think El Diablo can be a pretty aggressive player. But it's like, you place 3rd at this internationals, we're going to need to see some level of play that hasn't been shown on a NATS stage before by them. And if anyone's going to support them to do it, like I think DK, Than, I'm really excited to see what influence they bring to this team, because I think they could transform some lives, not just in a player sense, but maybe personally too.
It's hard to please Than, but he has to be happy that there's no hoodie in this tournament.
You're taking
Especially
him as
if he's playing medic.
Cool. Any final thoughts for this team?
Go get him, boys.
Yeah, seriously. Sorry to be a jerk, but like take this to heart. Go get them, boys. Let's go. Men of Mystery. All right. Number 3 by consensus, Brisbane Democratic Republic of Laserforce. Myself and Kodama have them in 4th, Glaedr in 3rd, and the community loves this team. Put them in 2nd place. Power rank of 7.15. They have the 6th most overall missions of Laserforce, but they have the 3rd most SM5 Brisbane missions. I'm happy to start on this one, unless you'd like to, Kodama.
Go ahead.
All right. All right. So there were a lot of parallels for me when with Five Nights at Loveland from last year, and also thinking about the Brisbane, sorry, not the Brisbane, the Detroit B team from 19. This you can absolutely make 2 completely different stories up for this team. You can make up the fact that they have home field advantage. They're practicing against Brisboom every week. They're young, talented, fast, aggressive. They've been practicing a consistent lineup for the past like 2 months. Like they don't change it around too much. And I give them a feather in the cap for that. I'm a big fan of Screever. I think he's going to be one of the most important players on this team, like I said. And I've noticed just through statistics, not really being able to know these players, Twin and Rook seem like they're really good as well. And I just saw Prawn Boy put up a 9K scout game against Brisboom. Like there is explosive potential on this team. Archstrude and Donta undoubtedly have their own skills as well, but they seem like they're more the support players. I like this. I like that there's structure. I like that there's consistent practice. And I even like that their brains are probably a little more developed than the players on Five Nights at Loveland. You might consider this a bit of an upgrade, potentially. They could be better than Five Nights at Loveland. However, no away experience from any of them, as far as I'm aware. There is very little Laserforce experience. When you compare it to everybody else coming to the tournament, this is one of the least experienced teams. They haven't beat Brisboom, so even though they are kind of, I think they're definitely between, like they're above Laserforce crew and they're below Brisboom, they haven't really gotten to a point where they're, like they finally killed the medic out in a game. That's cool. That means that they are in a certain range of skill, but I think that they may struggle with pacing. They may struggle in complicated scenarios, and I worry that as the week goes on, they're going to start hot and other teams are going to surpass them. So I could see them placing 2nd in round play, but then falling short in finals. So I have them in 4th.
Lots of similar thoughts on my end. I definitely think there's something to be said about the home field advantage. There's a lot to be said about, practicing against Rusty Taipan on a regular basis is going to hone you into a good laser tag player regardless, just because it's a lot to have to deal with. Speaking from experience. I think if I'm being completely transparent, all of my good thoughts about this team were formed from watching Twins player spotlight, and I know that it sounds like a meme, but like legitimately, I've recently had this belief that one of the things that is unique about SM5 is that you need to be a little bit arrogant in order to be good at this game, and it's not like confidence doesn't quite get you there. You need to you don't need to believe in yourself that you could be good enough to beat this player. You need to believe in yourself that you are better than this player, even if you're not. And it seems like he's got that dialed. And if he can keep it in check and he doesn't let it, get too out of hand or get too cocky, then that's, one of the things that makes you jump so fast as a player is when you go, okay, I've lost a trade to this incredible legendary laser tag player 4 times in a row. What do I need to do so that I am winning trades against this legendary player? And that's all that I did throughout the entirety of my my career, if you want to call it that, is looking at these players who I thought of as much better than I was, and taking and compartmentalizing it and thinking, what can I do in this moment to be better than this player? And eventually those moments start showing up more often. And I think that having a player on your team, especially because it seems like he's playing commander, who can have the what's the word? The audacity to charge into an enemy backline and say, you know what, I can fight Taipan on heavy. That's the kind of thing that's going to push them forward. And to be backed by a player as skilled as Screever is, at least as what I'm predicting him to be, because of how well he played given his circumstances in 2018, and he's had all this time to get better. I think that those two alone are what's lifting this team up really, really high. And from what I've seen from the scorecards, the rest of the team is nothing to sneeze at either. They seem to be very, very functional, very comfortable playing hard. They're definitely not scared of anything from just based on what I've seen from the scorecards. It takes a lot of confidence to be able to put up really high scores in difficult environments, and even in the games that they're losing, I'm not seeing a whole lot of times where a scout gets eliminated with 500 points. I'm not seeing a whole lot where Twin falls behind and ends up only scoring 5k even in the games that they lose. And so I think that there's a lot to be said for that. However, like you said, there's no away experience, and more importantly, with the exception of Screever, there's no experience playing against away players at home. One of the things that I think people tend to overlook in these tournaments is just how much the meta changes, even in like the home style of play. And so you'll see these players who are like, "Oh, I'm really good in my home arena. I am regularly putting up competitive scores against the guys who are traveling to tournaments and performing really well." And then they start playing against players who come from elsewhere. And those players are like, you know what? We're going to set up downstairs in blue base instead of setting up in the normal spot. And then nobody knows what to do. And so I think that a lot of the potential on this team is going to come from their ability to adapt to the different play styles of the other teams coming to the tournament. And that's where I think potentially the arrogance could get in the way, because you also do have to balance it with the humility of saying, you know what, I don't actually know what I'm going to do in this game, and I'm not sure what's going to work very well, but we're going to figure it out. I have a lot of high hopes for this team, actually. Having not known any of them, I just something about the things that I've seen from the scorecards and the player interview and what I know about Screever, it just seems like there's something there that I think is really, really good, and I want it to actually be true very, very badly.
Oh, okay. I guess it's my turn.
Oh yeah.
So, to bring my comments on Auckland full circle, this being my third ranked team, the reason I have them in third rank is home field advantage, as you guys have mentioned, and that's simply it. And I have to put this comment in. Unfortunately, Kodama, Archdruid has played. He played in 2018 as well. He was a supplementary player on Screever's team, but he also filled in on the Sacramento team when Grack stepped down. Formerly known as Quinn, if that's
I do know who that is.
Yeah. So they have two players who have they have two players who have played in a nationals tournament previously.
Wait, I love that
guy. So this team is definitely no slouch of a team. And if I love these photos, I just have to say that Twin Rook and Prawn Boy have all definitely, they got the memo. But I should point out as well, Danta, he's one of the few other second generation Laserforce Space Marines players that I know of. He is Scorpion's son.
Whoa, let's go.
I just got chills.
As a team, they've got their dynamic in. Twin, Prawn Boy, Archdruid, and Basil are pre-Laserforce friends, and so they have their own synergy already locked into the team without having played together before. Their main issues, I would say is twofold. One is that most of the team, aside from Screever and Archdruid, have not played outside of the practice nights. They haven't played with a consistent team before, which is it's an unfortunate position that a lot of Brisbane players are in at the moment, with the way that our members nights have shifted their structure. We're not doing the draft picks and the set teams anymore. So it's to the detriment of a lot of players, unfortunately. I think if they had that structure, they would be a lot better than they currently are. Players like Rook, Promboy, Twin, and Danta, they would be a step above where they are, and they are no slouches as players. Like, they are fantastic. There are some internal issues that plague the team. Unfortunately, when a game goes bad, some of the players get inside their own heads, and some just fall off, which is unfortunate, because you don't want to see that. You want to see a team play to the best of their ability, even when things go bad. And the other side of the coin, when things go well for the team, they have a decent start in a lot of the practice nights. They have a decent start to the game. That opening is really good. But as soon as the opposing team, usually the Brisbane crew, the Laserforce crew, unfortunately, go down, getting pushed downstairs out of their original resupply point, they lose focus. So when they hit that midpoint of the game, players are in places they shouldn't be, or in odd spots. They're either like all back at resupply or all trying to attack. And it is that focus point. It's that they're not sure as a team what they should do, where they need to be at that point in the game. And it does lead to some recovery in areas. A good anecdotal example of this was when I had to play for the Laserforce crew in a practice game as their heavy. They did push us downstairs, but I was able to hang around in the blue ramp, and I had the commander, the heavy, and both scouts were still upstairs, just trying to duel me, and allowed the rest of my team to go to another spot, set up, and resupply.
Good play.
And it's not something you should see in that sort of situation. It should have just been their heavy to remain behind, or their commander. Their team in the same game had the unfortunate disposition of not coming back to their resupply when their resupply was under attack. I think I ended up with like 8 medikits total, because their heavy or their commander, they never came back. And when they did, they disappeared shortly after. So that's those sort of hurdles, I hope they can get over fairly quickly. And if they do, those hurdles are the reason they're in third and not second for me. If they can clear those hurdles, they absolutely will dominate. And they have had decent showings in the practice games. There's no two ways about it. But yeah, I can't put them higher than third at the moment, but I hope they can surprise me.
Well said. Yeah, I mean, these are classic traits you find in most E teams, often young and heavy on talent, but low on experience. And that complacency after you push a team downstairs, like that's a pretty natural human reaction that you got to train yourself out of.
There is no B team.
No B team in Boston. Yep, I get it.
Uh,
I'd advise you guys, if you're listening, like, come in humble, be willing to change and adapt over the week, because teams are going to punish little mistakes like that really hard. Don't be the same team on day 1 that you are on day 5. Like, evolve with what you find. Be willing to have those discussions. Any other thoughts on this team? Cool. We'll keep moving, and we're running a little over time. Number 2, All-American Supercharge. I'm really looking forward to this discussion, Cayman. Power rank 7.04, number 3 in total missions, number 6 in Brisbane SM5 missions. Kodama put them in number 5. The community has them in 3rd. Both Glaedr and myself have them in 2nd place. The floor is yours, Kodama.
Washed. Sorry. I love every single person on this team. Don't get me wrong. But it actually is kind of where my ranking comes from. So a lot of it is that, yes, this is the legendary trifecta that you see from the like best US team for many years, is the Bean Scythe Brew combo. We've seen Scythe and Brew as a 3-hit pair so many times. It's like that image is seared into my brain as a Space Marines player. But I don't know that they've kept up with how the game has evolved. I definitely think that they're all individually still very skilled players. I think that they have the potential to really have some showstopper moments. They probably have the potential to, I would say this team probably has the highest potential to take games off of the first place team, which, in case everybody's been paying attention, is the only one that's missing from all of these lists so far. But I see not a whole lot of adjustment to the way that we've all changed the way that we play. You've got some new talent in Cody, who is the Asian character name, making it difficult for us. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. And I don't know that he has necessarily a strong enough voice on the team to be able to tell all of the other players, like, hey, the future is now, old man. Like, we need to change what we're doing. I think that the style of game that a lot of these players are used to playing is very outdated with the way that my generation has started to, or I guess our generation, Luke, whatever you want to call it, has started to treat the game and shape the way that we all play SM5. And so I think that if they're going to place higher than 5th, it's going to come down to how well they can learn the new tricks. There's obviously an insane amount of talent on this team, but I can't help but look back at the supposed stack of pancakes team that showed up in Loveland, and I feel like that was the perfect example of, you can't put the 6 best players all together and have them form a functional team. I think that they're all very talented. Don't get me wrong. Do Not Pass Go is like surprises me every single time I get to see him play. I'm so excited to watch him play every single time, because he doesn't seem like the kind of person outside of game who's gonna like put on the afterburners and screw up his knees in order to run away, and then he gets shot down and it's like, oh, and he's gone. And then obviously, like, Scythe is a terrifying name that strikes fear into the hearts of millions. Brew, of course, has an insane track record. Beans has been the best player in Syracuse for as long as I've been playing it, at least. And that's a strong site that has a lot of really talented players. And Cody, who's also from that site, is up there. He's definitely A-team material from just their players to choose from. But he's a contender for some of the like maybe top 4, top 3, in my opinion. They've all got a lot of experience in internationals, and I think that there's something to be said about that. But I don't see how all of the puzzle pieces fit together. I think that if the other teams that I've placed higher than them were less functional, then I might put them higher. But I have so much respect for for spots 4, 3, and 2 that I've placed that I think that in the grand scheme of things, when the end of the tournament comes around and all the dust settles, they're going to get outpaced by all the players who are paying a lot of attention to adjusting the way that they play to win the tournament. I don't know that that necessarily exists on this team. And I know that I haven't touched on Thomik at all. I
think it's Tomik.
Tomik. Okay. On Tomik, my apologies.
Of course.
I think it's good to have a 7th player. This is the only 7-man roster we see at the tournament. I think that there will definitely be some need for players to take rest breaks, not necessarily just for physical reasons, but to like take a breather on their mental state. Take some time to watch the scoreboard from the lobby to see if there's some more information to be gleaned there. And so having that other player to be able to slot in and give people a break is going to be really good. I'm not sure what their 7-man dynamic is going to be. I've seen teams do it different ways, but I think it's going to be beneficial for this team in particular. Hot take over. I don't think it's a hot take, but clearly the world does.
I really think there will be a lot of people that find that to be a really hot take. But
Good.
Mind if I go first, Glaedr?
Absolutely.
I want to respond to the idea, basically, that there's kind of like old school way of thinking and playing and new school. I actually totally agree with you on that and would love to do a longer discussion on that at some point, if you're up for it.
Next episode.
Totally. Or sometime, coming up sometime next year. I put that, and I think all your concerns are things that I'm worried that this could happen. But I've decided that I think most of the issues that I potentially see on this team are actually going to work out or not be as much of an issue as I give credit for. As far as old school thinking, I think the main reason I don't believe in that is Scythe. The 2019 Detroit A team, I do not think was old school. They had mobile resupplies, they had aggressive heavy play, they were synergistic and flexible. I was terrified to watch them and play against them. So I don't think that Scythe thinks about the game in an old school fashion. I think I think the commentary he brought to last year's NATS, listening back to a lot of that, you just hear all these nuggets of wisdom that indicate to me like he has a deep understanding of what's going on and why players are doing what they're doing. Now, as far as everybody else, I don't necessarily know. I respect all these players individually, as you say. But they have a couple things. One, Beans, Brew, and Scythe, they played together in 2018 on the Golden Freedom Eagles or whatever. So they've been to this arena before, and I know the arena had like a part removed, but bringing back a team that's played here before, keeping together like the core pieces, I think that's really valuable. They've been practicing together in Syracuse this last year multiple times. Everyone but Scythe, I believe, and Tomik have actually been practicing. And you can't say that about the International Meta Mystery or some of the other teams. I think the Baden Scythe combo is proven in away arenas. They have a deep understanding of the game and synergy together. I like that. I think Stu brings a lot of stability to this team mentally. Tomik, I like him as a wild card on this team. I got a message from the Fear Turkey today. Tomik has passed tragedy in terms of total games played. These mission counts, by the way, are about 6 weeks old. So I apologize, everyone. I didn't want to go redo them. Tomik now has the second most missions in the world, and that gave me chills when I heard that. Like, that's kind of weird. But bringing that player to SM5, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think I'm leaning he's going to be better than people think than worse than people think, for sure. My final point, I think these players are tired of losing. Beans and Cody have not had a good run of it. Stu had to get 0 pointed last tournament.
Oh, poor
Lenny.
guys.
No, seriously, the stacked pancakes team. You don't think those guys are tired of hearing about like, oh, you can't put the best players together? Like I've said it. Everyone said it. Like I think this team is actually trying to practice, and I think they're going to come out and show us what we've been forgetting. I understand, like we've had some upsets recently, but I think if this team actually takes this seriously and pulls it together and tries, I see a well balanced team with pretty active innovation, new ways of thinking, and players willing to do what it takes to win. My question marks on this team, like there are synergy issues. I don't know if they're doing so much of like the virtual team meetings. Cody's ankle seems okay from what I understand. I think my biggest question mark, honestly, is Scythe on all that. Everything I'm saying is contingent on Scythe showing up ready to play. He hasn't been to any of the practices. And I'm assuming, I believe that if Scythe is showing up, he's showing up ready to play and he's not washed. But he's gonna have to prove that. Because if he is, then this team is in trouble. I don't know. I think some of the pieces begin to fall apart if Scythe, Brew, and Beans don't play at the level that people expect them to.
So I'll open this with a fellow teammate's comment. Is actually in relation to yours, Kodama, but it's not the whole team. It is only Scythe. He did say washed. So, but I disagree with that statement as well. I agree more with you in that if he shows up ready to play, then he will be a difficult opponent. The team itself is just some of the best American players that I've seen, and on top of that, like Beans, I haven't seen him lose a step over the years. It's been 11 years since I met him, and I have not seen him slow down or play any worse than I've ever seen him play, even recently. Lenny is I think the surprise for me. Do not pass go as is the surprise. When I told Tragedy that he was coming, he was surprised as well because he's also like I haven't seen him lose a step in those years either. Brew is the one I'm excited to see simply because of his unfortunate accident in 2018. Since then, the man has had significant lifestyle changes, and I hope that he can bring that physical aspect that he was missing to this team. That's so my ranking is mostly based on hope and probably 60-40 hope observation, because the team are very good players, and like even to the point where they podium finished in 2018.
What do you think about that, Kodama?
I think that they're valid points. I just it's been 6 years since we saw the 2019 performance. It's been 7 years since we saw the 2018 performance, and I've had the pleasure of being able to watch so many of the newer generation of players really drive to improve their game and to really just lock in and focus on what needs to be done to win a game of laser tag and or of SM5, I should say. And I it feels like the drive to win has kind of started to fade on a lot of these old school legends. I think that they've had their time, they've had their moment in the spotlight, and I'm not saying that they don't still want it. I'm just saying that they're probably mostly satisfied with where they've been able to get to up until this point. And I don't know that they have enough of the hunger that you were talking about before, that is necessary to really get through the entirety of this 4 to 5 day event. So it's I would love to see them perform better. Obviously, I've grown up, or I guess grown up is a accurate term now that I think about it. I've grown up, looking up to a lot of these players and hearing the stories of how well they play and their history and I've been seeing Scythe in my nightmares for 11 years now. And so, like, maybe not quite that long. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities. I don't think that it's quite there. I think that we're on the downswing of the bell curve with this one.
Well, I think it's possible. I think we have seen other players, whether it's for physical reasons, like they can't physically be who they were anymore. I don't think anyone on this team like physically can't be who they were. At least maybe no one's going below 90% of who they were, in my opinion. I think it could just be like the complacency, like you're saying. If there is anything that could be really wrong, it's these guys come in and they just want to hang out at the park and they drink a little bit when it's time to like have team meetings, or like they're just not being as serious as they can be. Yeah, I could see this team falling lower. If I'm honest, like if I have honest feedback for some of the Syracuse players, I've noticed I don't know how much they really sit down and talk between games. I noticed that a little bit in 23. We did talk, but they're kind of like G&D. They're kind of like feeling players to me. They like to go in and just kind of like feel out what they should do and figure it out along the way. I would love to see them get a little more like open up some battle maps, sit down with Scythe and Brew and Stu, and like have Tomik there listening to all this. Like, here's where you need to go. Here's the style. Here's the type of team we're gonna be. Because I think I can highlight 3 players on top of who we've talked about. I still think Brew is one of the best in the game, like the world. And you're right, Glaedr. I think he's gotten very lean. He is a terrifying player to against. He's fast and smart. One of the most experienced and terrifying players I've played against. And then I think for my prediction for their resupply, as we've talked about, this will be an important. I think resupply might be an important factor of this tournament in general, just a theme that keeps coming up. I think Do Not Pass Go and Stu are going to be the resupply. I remember a 2016 Syracuse fake NATS that got canceled, where a very strong Syracuse A team was put together with Do Not Pass Go on ammo with Princess Medic. And I remember the 2019 Detroit team with Stu on ammo with the Ghosty Medic. I think those two actually are getting like buried a little bit as like they kind of are specialists a little bit. They could totally play that role. Maybe one or both of them go to scout. I don't know. I don't think either of them are playing 3-hit with the other powerful names on the team. One question mark I do have is Cody. Cody tends to play 3-hit, and I don't know if that's the right decision for him on this team, considering the experience we have. If they're trying to win, can he fit into either a scout or resupply role and really synergize, not just do kind of what is best for him, but what's best for the team? I think that's a challenge for you, Cody. I think you have the talent to do it, but can you completely shift your play style to be whatever the team needs? And finally, will ego get the best of this team? Will people feel like they should be better? Will there be finger pointing? I hope that doesn't happen, but I can see that happening too. But if they be their best, I think they'll place second.
I definitely agree with your comment on Cody as his majority 3-hit player play style. I have a feeling that this team will try and feel out at the start the 3-hits and the scouts. I think you're right about the resupply being Disco Stew and Do Not Pass Go. That would be a very strong resupply to have on the back end. But I feel like they'll probably feel out how they want to fill out the team, especially with Tomik as well, before finally settling in where they need to be.
Yeah, I can see that happening. All right, any final thoughts on this team? All right, we've got a really big surprise for our final team. It's Rusty and Taiping. Brisboom, power rank 9.48. So that'll be interesting if I do that poll in the future, like what team ends up being the most powerfully ranked team in history. That'd be kind of interesting if teams can ever get above a 9.48. Number 2 in total missions. Number 1 in Brisbane SM5 missions. Everybody puts them first. Glaedr, why don't you start? This is your team. You're on it. You're right there. Looking good.
Well, yeah. So this team, as many have pointed out, is almost mirror image to the 2023 team, with the only difference being sharpshooter instead of Troyota. And no shade on Troyota, but sharpshooter is definitely a much more skilled player. This team is very versatile in what positions to play. So I don't see many compositions we could come up with that would fail. We've had very successful practice games. There's a lot of our own flaws that are there that we're definitely sorting through as quickly as we can. But it would be, I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but it would be a surprise if we lost.
Kodama?
Can we talk about Rusty's hair for a second? No, it's fine. It just caught me off guard a little bit. Actually, so did Sharpie's hair. Sharpie's hair is anyway. On to the laser tag talk. So when I look at this team, the thing that stands out to me, aside from the obvious experience and success that so many of these players have, is how comfortably all of them slot into the spot that I assume that they're going to be filling. It's like when you look at all 7 of the other teams at this tournament, there's always like that question, oh, what role is this player going to play on this team? I wonder how they're going to figure out how to build around this player. With this team, there's no question. I see it clear as day. And honestly, I'm going to just say what I think your positions are, because if they're not this, I'm going to be flabbergasted. I see the amazing resupply duo of Glaedr and JFK. I think that there's so much comfortability and synergy. I've seen them play together before, maybe not necessarily on resupply together, but I've seen them play plenty before. I think that Sharpshooter and Basil are going to turn out to be a very, very strong scout duo, with maybe a slight exception for them both playing a little bit aggressively. But I think that Sharpshooter, from what I remember, the way that he played in 2018, is definitely the type of player who can take a step back and play more of a control or utility scout. And then, do I need to say anything about Rusty Type N3 hit? Like, I feel like that's a broken record at this point. It seems kind of futile to talk about the home field advantage, but I think this is probably the biggest home field advantage that exists in Laserforce, is the one that the top Brisbane team has at the Brisbane Arena. Rusty has more games than any other person on the planet in Laserforce, and 4,000 of them are SM5 games in Brisbane. And so, when I was coaching a player, one of the players on the other teams had reached out to me asking for some coaching, and I remember one of the pieces of advice I gave was, lots of people are going to tell you to try to watch how Rusty plays and play like Rusty, and I think that is a huge mistake. because Rusty has gotten to a point in this arena where he's not even playing SM5 anymore. He's playing his own game, and everybody else is just a piece in it. And so trying to emulate what he's doing is going to fall short every time because no one can see the game that he's playing. He's done it, so every single scenario has been played out in that arena in front of his eyes. I think that whatever shortcomings this team might have, whatever weaknesses there might be, are going to be so difficult to exploit from like by itself. But also, if you exploit the weakness, are you doing so and also protecting your backline from being run through by Taipan? Like, I just it seems. I hate to be a kind of a doomsayer about this, but it seems impossible to take a game off this team, if I'm being completely honest.
Okay. Well, that'll wrap up our show. I have all the good things to say about this team, but I'm going to try to play a little devil's advocate just for the drama, and because I do think there are some flaws on this team. And you know what? I'll even bet. I'm going to make a bet. Public bet. I bet this team does not have a perfect record in round play. I'm making the bet. Later, prove me wrong.
As much as I would love to, as a reason I didn't say, won't lose a game.
Mm-hmm. I think this team has stolen. I think this team has stolen one thing from Loveland Phoenix, and it's going to steal another thing. One, I think you stole our amazing color scheme. Look at those uniforms. Oh, beautiful. Two, from what Rusty has said, and I think this is probably going to fall in line with some other pieces of evidence, I think you guys aren't going to be playing that finals lineup throughout round play. I bet we're going to see a lot of Basil on Commander. I think we're going to see a lot of Rusty Scout or Ammo. I think you guys are going to conceal some of your lineup and not allow teams to know the full extent of things until finals, and that's kind of what we were doing. When you have home field advantage, you have time to practice your main lineups and then bring it out at the end. I think you guys might do that. That's my prediction. If you don't, then I'm wrong. And that might be one reason that you lose a game during round play. Maybe one team peaks while you guys dip at just the right moment. Look, this team is amazing. Great balance of personality, athleticism, maturity. You practiced together in 2023. Like, that's pretty rare. I love that. I love that you guys actually have practice all together. And the fire that I imagine you feel from coming second in 23, not to like keep bringing that up, but like that would motivate me to try really hard for this. Plus kind of the legacy feel of this tournament. I would imagine this team is feeling do or die. Like, this has to happen. Level of seriousness. But if I had any criticisms, JFK, Basil, and Sharpshooter, I think they lack some away experience. Yeah, they went out to Auckland, but they haven't traveled all around to all these different sites the way that you, Glaedr, Taipan, and Rusty have. I think that does a lot for a player. And I worry that they may be a little single-minded in terms of, I've played in Brisbane, I know how Brisbane plays, but I don't have the wider context of SM5. You guys aren't, from what I can tell, practicing too many specific lineups. Maybe you're doing them off not uploading them to the site, but that could come back to bite you. I doubt it will, but it could. I'm trying to find holes in like the holeless armor, you know. Rusty has mentioned that his shoulder's been popping out, and that it popped out twice just in the last year. I really don't want that to happen. I'm not wishing that on you, Rusty, but it is a risk that might be worth considering, and maybe that's partially why he wouldn't be playing Go Hard 3-hit all tournament. And lastly, this team is missing some of the core pieces that I think make Rusty and Taipan so great. I mean, it kind of sucks that Tragedy's not on this team. I wish he was. Sounds like he'll still be there, and certainly his hand is on the team. Certainly you, Glaedr, are a great example of that. Freddo's always been kind of an ancillary support piece for Rusty, and I feel like there was... and oftentimes Brew was on a team with Rusty that was traveling. And so I can think of some of those legendary teams from 2015 onward that had some of those pieces, like those three players, that helped make up the overall structure. Because you can't just slap Rusty and Taipan onto a team and call it like unbeatable. You can call it great for sure, but Brisbane's philosophy, Brisbane's strategy is kind of what makes the overall picture so daunting. It's that you all practice so frequently and have been to so many sites and have the same mentality. Will, Basil, JFK, and Sharpshooter all have that with you? I think you will, Glaedr. You're like the lone piece that's been traveling around with these two for a while. So I love that you're on this team. But aside from that, like, I don't think any of that's really going to matter. I think you might lose a game in round play, and I think you're going to go undefeated otherwise. And this tournament to me feels like who's going to get the honor of getting beat by Brisbane in the finals.
If I had to put my money on who would take a game off us in round play, it would be the Democratic Republic of Laserforce. I think they have the highest chance, as you would have noticed from the practice games. But they would have to overcome the internal flaws that I mentioned. The drive to win, I know, is in Basil and Taipan after 2023.
Mm-hmm.
To the whole reason Basil's on this team and not with the rest of his friends was simply because he said it to us. He said he wants to win. That's why he's with us. So he ditched the meme team of the Basil bots to help strengthen a team that he sees has the best opportunity of winning.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say much for JFK or Sharpshooter. They're very, I don't want to say closed off, but they're not. They're hard to read. That's the term I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you don't see like Sharpshooter complain about how other players are playing very often. But I think, they're all the whole team is very keen to win. Particularly like Taipan, Basil, and myself.
Absolutely. I don't know if we're going to have any listeners who don't know, like people talk about Rusty and Taipan, but they've just joined in the last year or two. Rusty's been winning tournaments since the early 2000s, and he's had a rotating cast along him, but Brisbane in general has been dominant. Tragedy has always been a big name alongside them. Glaedr's been coming around for a very long time. Your Tragedy's son. Taipan joined when? Was he like 2010-ish? I don't know. I know he's newer.
Yeah, I think it was about 2009.
Like, I don't know the history. I'm not the right people to ask about the history, but I've been around the 10 years and like they've been dominating since the beginning. So I would expect in their home arena with the players they have, yeah, it's gonna be extremely difficult to defeat them. Eamon, if you were to project any team to take a game off of them, which one would you think it would be?
I think I said it before when we were talking about the oh god, what are they calling themselves?
International Men of Mystery?
No, the other one. The All American Supercharged. Yeah,
All American Supercharged.
I think that's the team that has the potential to like find the right rhythm for a moment and actually take a game off of them. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the other teams take a shot at them as well. I think in any event, this is going to be an interesting tournament. I don't know that they're going to be so dominant that the games against them will be boring. We've definitely seen tournaments in the past where the majority of the games against Brisbane's best team are almost feel futile. I don't know that that's going to be the case this tournament. I think that it's still going to be a fight regardless. And I mean, if you want to talk about history, the game that they lost in round play in 2018 was to the Brisbane D team. And so it really is anybody's game. I could see the zone team taking a game off of them if they get a little spicy. But I think my best bet would be the Brew Scythe combo, finding a moment where it's like, oh, they've made a mistake and we are capitalizing on it, and just being able to run with that moment of advantage and really press it. My only concern about the other teams is that if they find themselves in a moment where they have this team on the back foot, I can see them losing sight and taking their foot off the gas. And if there's anything I know about Brisbane, it's that as soon as you if you have them on the ground for whatever reason, as soon as you lift your boot up, they're standing up and giving you a sucker punch every time.
Yes, they do.
Again, speaking from experience.
I'm going to give my one game to a different team than you two. I'll give it to the International Men of Mystery. My worry with the All-American team is that if they are going to play, they're going to play at a high floor, and they may not try anything really weird. And I bet to beat this team, you're going to have to do something kind of weird. And I think DK and the Fear Turkey concocting something kind of crazy would be the reason why this team loses a game in round play. Or maybe finals. Hey, I can dream, can't I?
We're all dreaming.
All right. Any final thoughts on this team?
Everybody.
I do want to say, like, as a message to all the other teams, that despite the sheer obvious consensus of where people think we'll land, I don't want any of the other teams to not try their absolute best simply because of this team, because it's not fun, and that is the ultimate end goal. Is, you want to have fun in this. We're not, you don't fly across the other side of the world and pay all this money to sit yourself down and go, oh, we're not going to beat that team, so what's the point? So I want them all to try their best and walk out of the game going, I know we lost, but it's not because we didn't do everything we absolutely could.
Hey folks, that is the world champs, and Glaedr is a champ, by the way. Holding open their arms, saying, you take the first punch. They want to fight. This is your last chance to give it to Rusty. He said this is his last tournament, so
give it to them. They deserve it.
All right, let's we all go to this team.
Yes.
Let's move forward. All right, briefly, we all picked a dark horse team. A dark horse team is a team that we think could place much higher than people are projecting them to. So, Kodama, would you start by just briefly telling us why is the Brisbane Democratic Republic of Laserforce your dark horse team?
Absolutely. I think a large reason why is because of the sheer talent, and really the only reason that I placed them where I did was because I think that it's hard to harness it, but if there's going to be a team that is able to shine above the teams that we know are going to perform well, the players that we've seen, show stop before, it's going to be this team. This is the team that, if they can figure out how to be adaptive, how to, like I was saying before, balance the arrogance with the humility and manage to really just harness all of that raw talent that they clearly have brewing, that we can see from the members' nights and the showing from Screever, etc. I think that this is the team that I wouldn't be surprised if they take second. I can see a universe where things go wrong for the other teams and right for this team, and they keep the ball rolling through all of round play, and they're the ones who are fighting Brisboom in the finals.
Awesome. Glaedr, why the Laserforce crew?
So I did touch on it when I had with the 8th ranked place that I had. If they can just get over those the hurdles, their dynamic and their communication issues, if they can overcome those, I would absolutely love to see. Like, I can definitely see them way up, 4th or 5th, maybe 3rd even. Just due to that sheer experience on the team they have.
100%. Okay, for me, for Olympus, have you ever done a homework assignment for a class, but you were so smart or knowledgeable that you decided to wait till about an hour before it was due, and then you got an A or a passing grade anyways? Anybody out there?
So smart and knowledgeable.
So, if these guys are super talented zone players, they may not need to understand SM5 in depth to win games. If they bring the talent, they take the advice, and they begin playing and doing a lot of really smart things without necessarily knowing the full reason why they're doing it, maybe they're just gonna be that. I could see 6th. I could. I don't know about higher than 6th, but I could see them actually winning a fair amount of games in round play if they just soak in all the advice and they show off their stuff and keep a good head. The community voted almost an even split between Auckland A and the Loveland Curveballs as their dark horse teams. It was like 75% of everybody voted for one of those two, so I put them both in. All right. There's the final consensus rankings. Guys, thank you for coming on. Any final thoughts before we wrap up our show today?
Good luck to all the teams that are attending the tournament. It's going to be very, very fun to watch all of you play.
Definitely looking forward to seeing everyone there.
Sorry about the green Brisboom logo. That was your logo until literally last night. Thanks, guys. So I had to update all your stuff really quick.
Don't have to remind me. The group chat is heavily dominated by about half the team communicating and the other half not. So,
anyways, you got a cooler logo now, but you were formerly the green one. Yeah, this has been really cool. I've been so hyped. Hey, if you're going to Nats, good luck and thank you for going. Like, Brisbane has a huge legacy in our scene. Make sure to get to know the Brisbane players and soak in this experience. For everyone who's not going, watch the stream. There's a lot of really good work going into it. You know, Guy Next Door is helping. We got Comp Geek, we got the Babe, we got Rockwood as the main commentator this year. And there's a few more I'm forgetting. Just guys, Laserforce tournaments is getting really cool. Watch this tournament. It's going to be awesome. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. So thank you guys for coming on. Have a wonderful night. See everyone at NATS. Not me, but have fun at NATS and see you on the stream.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to ForceProSports. Subscribe to the channel and get cool perks by supporting our Patreon. Play Laserforce and become part of this era's next great sport.